Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you to tonight's edition of the Race Anywhere Porsche Cup Series. Today we're at Sebring. First off, we'd like to thank our sponsors for today's race, Race Anywhere Porsche Cup Series. As always, Sim Racing 3D and Go for the Gap. Now that we've thanked our sponsors and gotten all of the payment out of the way, we're going to look at tonight's race details.
We are indeed, and we are racing here at Sebring, one of the homes of endurance racing in America. It is a deceptively long track, and Austin, as we always talk about, it is incredibly bumpy out here today. This track is sure to punish drivers across the board. We're going to have to watch out for it. 2 races in store for us tonight, so it's going to be fantastic to watch. Look for main overtaking zones going down into Sunset and into Turn 1 as well as the hairpin.
DJ, it looks like the guys are being gridded up already as we speak. Thankfully, tonight we have a full pace lap to go through the entire field here, so we'll start off with the Pro category. Lining up on pole for your Pro category drivers is going to be Harry Wills. He's going to be first, followed by Thomas Marino in second. Bruno Canero is in third, followed by Spencer Marsh in fourth. Jonathan Owlett is in fifth, followed by Dave Meneno in sixth. Justin Rem lines up seventh with John Bodefer in eighth. In ninth is going to be Caden Bin. 10th is going to be Dino Felipe. 11th is Michael Jenne, and 12th is Elvis Rankin. Dan Tenorio is going to round out your field. Sorry, DJ.
That's my bad. I looked at that wrong there, Austin. Starting off in that Pro-Am category, the middle category, it's going to be Steven Martinez, followed by Andrew Rasmussen, with Chris Long and Jay Steffi in fourth. Jeremy Littleton will line up in fifth, followed by John Cooper, with Taylor Lane and Brett Barata behind him in eighth. Josh Garafinas will be in ninth, followed by in 10th in class will be them. It'll be Michael Kulaga. Then Casey Metzger lines up at 11th, and Eric Kulaga rounds out your Pro-Am field.
The AM category is going to be led by Bruno Alcaraz, and second is going to be Don Hunter. Eric Stamp lines up third with Drew Neubauer in fourth. Gary Brown lines up fifth with Andrew Hewson in sixth. Dan Florea lines up seventh with Stephen Vada in eighth. Ninth is going to be Errol Uriksoy with Jason Bridges in 10th. Travis Kepler is going to start off 11th with Andrew Hewitt in 12th. So as these guys complete their pace lap here, DJ, you mentioned it's one of the bumpiest tracks on the circuit. Talk about what it's like having to put the power down coming out of Sunset.
Well, it's very, very tricky, Austin. You've really got to be careful with the application of the throttle, not just in Sunset, but really around this entire circuit. It's almost like you're running around mid-Ohio or another circuit with massive elevation changes, just the way you've got to be careful with that application. You don't want to completely put your foot to the floor, or that's a one-way ticket to spin out, as the car will be bumping across the circuit and you will lose grip on those rear tires and they'll start to slide away from you. So you've really got to be careful about it. But the one good thing is that running in the sim as opposed to running this in real life, you don't have that terrible tailbone thwap that you do running around here in the seat of a real Porsche.
Yeah, I assume for sure a lot of guys, once they're done running at Sebring, they'll have to go to the dentist to get those fillings reset, or at least some dental work done after your teeth are chatting around here for 12 hours at a time. So thankfully for these guys, like you say, it's all virtual.
Indeed, but rest assured, their wrists will be very, very stiff by the end of it. The force feedback coming through these wheels, they will definitely feel it for a lot of these drivers as we watch everybody working their way around here right now. And we have, there's in the picture-in-picture, that is Andrew Rasmussen. That is your Pro-Am leader, so we are lucky enough to be able to get that dual picture. Multi-class racing here today, technically, but everybody running in those same Porsches.
Yeah, DJ, these guys are kind of split up by speed. So you'll have 3 different groupings of drivers. You can see they're represented on the left, and they're color coordinated. Of course, you can see leaders up top in the Pro-Am and M category are going to be Wills, Rasmussen, and Alcaraz. You can see the white drivers are in the Pro category. The Pro-Am drivers are notified by that blue color, and then the Am drivers are in the red color. You can see those on the left-hand side of your screen. A little bit easier to kind of keep track of who's who.
Indeed, and we'll do a good job of trying to keep track of them for you as we get ready to get going green. You can also see on the top of your screen there, leaders in class. Everybody following the Porsche pace car down the long Ullman straight here. The field fanning out a little bit as we get ready to go green.
One of the interesting things about this league is that the entire field goes when the leader wants to go. Even though the green flag could come out and everyone starts to go, they all have to wait for the leader. He decides when he wants to go. They have a certified restart zone or a start zone like you have in NASCAR and other series where the leader has to start going between one point and another. We'll have to see when Harry Wills wants to go. Green flag waved by iRacing. They're still waiting, being very patient here. Harry wants to try and minimize how much rundown he has into turn one to make sure that no one can get a draft on the front stretch and try to peek their nose inside of him when they get going here. You can see he's still holding the field up. Finally puts his foot down in the loud pedal. A huge jump for him, taking very, very good advantage of that front starting spot. He's going to go into turn one uncontested from everyone else. The rest of the field's going to be Noah's Ark style behind him.
Indeed, they are 2x2x2 as we jump back to the start of that Pro-Am category. Again, that's Andrew Rasmussen holding him up here a little bit. Oh, it looks like Mourinho had an off there. It's another late go for Rasmussen. A little bit of a fan out there behind him, it looks like. And now he's on the loud pedal. He's able to get a good jump there as they go their way through the corner. 1 and 2 getting in line, it looks like, as we take a look. Everybody through there cleanly as we jump back to the AM standards.
You can see Don Hunter again, like the two drivers starting the fields before him, waits a long time down the front straightaway till he finally decides to put his foot down. Once again, though, works to a treat as he's uncontested under turn one. A lot less fighting between these M category guys than we saw in the first two categories. Most of them going single file through turn one. DJ?
Indeed, everybody trying to be a little bit more cautious here. We jump back. This is Jonathan Ouellette there up in 7th, trying to fend off a little bit of an attack, it looks like, as he is in a whole field of it. Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man, trying to get there through Cunningham, I believe. Now, this switches onto the sweeping section on the back. Once they work their way through Cunningham and the tower turn, they then go through the flying portrait straight and into Jean Debienne, getting ready to line up on that all-important Ullman straightaway to get the draft, Austin.
Yeah, one of the most important things about this entire series, DJ, is that the field is created by the inversion of the points. So if you're the championship leader, you start in the very back of the field. If you're dead last in points, you get to start at the front. So it's always a huge passing game for these guys because generally speaking, the faster guys are always going to start at the back of the pack. So there's always passing, always good racing all the way up and down through the fields here.
Yes, there is, and there you can see Ouellette able to hold off Dave Menino, who looks like he's on a little bit of a charge here. They are fanning out behind him, almost 3 wide, coming through Sunset. That is Jani, Menino, and Rankin trying to sort themselves out as they cross the start-finish line.
You could see a little bit of contact there between Lincoln and Menino as they went down the front stretch. These guys aren't leaving much to chance here in the opening laps.
Oh, I think there was a little bit of a touch there. That may have been Ouellette that caught the worst of it. That's going to be Menino trying to dive down the inside. He is side by side with Elvis Rankin as they work their way now through the Gurney Bend and onto the straightaway. Oh, that is going to be Ouellette. Really hung out to dry there. He looks like he is falling back. Rankin got a bad run out of the corner as well. Ouellette may have a little bit of a run into the hairpin. He's going to poke his nose to the inside.
Pokes his nose to the inside. I think what he's doing there, DJ, is just trying to find his breaking point. I think he's a little bit too far back to end up pulling that move right there, just a dive bomb into that turn. So I think he's just looking for his breaking point there as we're now going to look at Brett Bravada in the Pro-Am category.
Indeed, we are. This is the battle for P1. As there you can see Garfias there out in the lead. Bravada behind him and Tenorio trying to hold on to it. They're going to be side by side again going down into that hairpin. This is a prime overtaking zone. Who is going to be able to pull that out? It is close. They're still side by side battling up in the front. And it looks like they're going to fall back into line.
Yeah, right now, huge passing opportunity like you mentioned there, DJ, especially because there's a long straightaway after that. So even if someone does get their nose to the inside, you kind of have to give up the inside lane through the hairpin. You can always try to put the power down, and by virtue of not having to turn the wheel as much when you come out of that turn, usually you can end up pulling the move or at least holding the guy off down the straightaway there through the sweeping turns like you mentioned. Right now we're going to look at Bruno Canario as they go down the backstretch.
And this is the battle for P1 overall. Ooh, a little bit of a triangle run there. That's Ben trying to hold his nose to the inside. You can see those bumps buffeting the cars a little bit. I think Harry Wills is going to have to back out of it. Oh, I thought he was, but he powers his way through the outside. Harry Wills, your pole sitter here, back on leading in this second lap. But Canario not letting him go quietly, trying to hold it out around the outside of turn one.
Yeah, these guys, even though they start up front, they theoretically speaking should be the slowest guys. They're never easy to pass. You really have to be on your mark here in this league to pass, and that's what makes it so enjoyable to watch. As these guys are really going at it all race long. As we see, it looks like Drew Neubauer on the second half of the course. Looks like sector 3, unfortunately, gets a little bit wrong, spins the car out. We're going to go back though to that lead in the pro category.
We are indeed. Harry Wills, a little bit of a loser there, and that's going to be Caden Bin trying to make a look now on Bruno Canario as they go down into the hairpin. And it looks like Canario is going to be able to hold it for now, and Wills is going to slot into third, losing out there through the first sector of the track. Behind them, it looks like Spencer Marsh has been able to catch up. We ride on board right now with Dino Filippa, though. This is back in P6. You can see all of that chaos in front of him.
Yeah, right now this is basically just one of the faster guys basically being roadblocked by the slower drivers ahead of him, and it's incredibly hard to pass here, especially with these cars. Everyone being in the same car, unlike the last series that we had broadcast on Wednesday nights, they're all in the same car, pretty much a stock car. Everyone's doing the same thing. These guys have just pretty much the same amount of fuel here. It's not until we get to the second and third pit stops that we get to see that change up as you go further into the night here. So yeah, these guys are currently going at it. Right now, the battle for third in class, you see some drivers, not getting a bigger run as they come out of these corners, so the gap between the cars is starting to get smaller and smaller.
Yes, it certainly is. That gap between the leading pack. We're going to go back and check out the replay here, though. This is Steven Vada, it looks like. Vada, as this is going down here into the hairpin. Ooh, a little bit squirrely under braking, and I believe that was the tag that we saw getting sent around. Oof, tough break there.
Yeah, DJ, these cars are so hard to get on the brakes because you have the engine in the absolute rear of the car. So that's all the weight. You're trying to put the brakes on. You really want to find that good balance of brake bias, but sometimes you try to go for a move and you just lock up the tires just a little bit too much and slide into the corner. Definitely not intentional there, but that's just how racing goes right now. We're still looking at Drew Neubauer.
Yeah, and Drew, remember, was the car that spun out there, so he is all the way back down 35th overall and 10th in class. Has a little bit of a gap behind him to Daniel Florea, but that is Casey Metzger right up ahead of him, and he's trying to close in that gap. This is Spencer Marsh that we check back in on. Marsh is under a lot of pressure.
Oh, another driver.
Oh, into the hairpin again.
Yeah, these cars really hard to find your braking marker, especially at night here too, DJ. That's one of the things I want to touch on as well. It looks like it's really light here, folks, at home because of all the cars' headlights. But if you're in one of these driver's seats and you barely just take your eyes off the road to the rest of the course, it is pitch black darkness. There's no lighting around the track unless you're going down the front stretch. Other than that, it's all provided by your car's headlights. So it gets very dark around here. It's especially hard to find all your braking markers around this short circuit.
It is indeed, and the braking markers for the most part around Sebring are designated on iRacing by those cones that you see. You see 3 cones, 2 cones, 1 cone, kind of signifying that traditional braking point to come down to. And so it is a little bit easier compared to some Formula 1 grade circuits where those brake markers are way off to the side of the track. However, it is still very difficult, and you've got to really just trust your instincts around here as we watch this leading pack work their way back onto the Ullman Straight, everybody tucking up behind. We're not really seeing any weaving out of these leading drivers right now. Everybody just trying to maximize the draft from the car in front of them.
Yeah, DJ, I wouldn't be too surprised if some of these guys are saving a little bit of fuel right now to maybe make an extra lap on this stint because, of course, the lighter the car is on fuel, the faster it's going to go. You can see some of that is evidence, and currently are some of our fastest drivers, our leaders right now, most of these classes, putting in some purple lap times. Just last lap, you can see a lot of these guys putting in those green lap times there. That signifies the driver's best lap personally, and not the best lap overall for their category necessarily, but certainly we can see a lot of the best laps per category being put down.
Indeed, we can. We keep our eyes focused here on Spencer Marsh back in 8th right now. Spencer trying to work his way up through the field, currently down 4 positions from his starting spot. As you said there, Austin, this grid is inverted, so that's not exactly surprising that we're seeing some rising and falling there out of these drivers. A little bit of flick of the headlights, some mental head games starting to get into play here.
Yeah, it's one of the most distracting things a driver behind you can do. That's pretty comforting too sometimes to know that the guy behind you is having a really rough time passing you, so he decides to kind of revert to those kind of tactics to try and get by. Usually, though, the best idea is to keep your eyes forward, not look in the mirror, because, of course, if he is going to pass you, you'll hear your spotter call out car to the left or right, and at that point, you know you kind of need to concede the position. But for the most part, though, if he's back there and needs to do that, you're probably faster than him anyways.
Yeah, exactly. That headlight flick, it's a little bit like the weaving that I mentioned earlier. Whenever I've been in a race and I see a driver in front of me start to weave, I let a little smile cross over my face because I know I've gotten in their head. And when you are in another driver's head, that is the worst thing possible to have happen if you are that driver, because you're thinking about what the other person is doing, not running your own best race, and that is a one-way ticket to run a bad race. Checking back here on the battle in the mid-pack of the Pro-Am category, though, Steffi, Long, and Garfius running pretty nose astern here.
Yeah, that's right, DJ. Basically, I think all these guys are just catching one faster car, and it's one thing to catch a car, it's another thing to pass them. Some of these guys might just be relegating themselves to saving fuel for a little while right here, of course. They don't want to put too much pressure on themselves to pass the next car because there are no resets. If you end up wrecking your car, there's no fast repair in the pits, so you're basically stuck with that car. And, you know, early on in the season right now, you really can't afford to have a bad race. You need to kind of play it safer right now unless you're way in the way back. We're currently almost going 3 wide there. That's going to be John Botifer in the 67. You can see he actually gets spun out there. I believe that was by, if it wasn't Philippa, that might have been Michael Janey or Elvis Rankin. But we'll have to see a replay of that here in a couple seconds. But yeah, it's definitely too early to be taking a whole lot of risks.
Yeah, it is, and I was sitting there thinking of, talking about risks as we watch this. I believe that was Rankin down to the inside, just a little bit of a clip there. That sends the 67 spinning around. You see everybody trying to get out of the way. Now, what that has done is that has effectively really broken up that leading pack that we were keeping an eye on. Remember, they were all bunched together there, and now there is a big, big gap between Harry Wills in second and Dino Filippa in third. It's to the tune of about 2 seconds. From there, Philippa, everybody's separated down by about just under a second from one another. Still a bit of a train there, but Carnerio and Willis are running out in a field of themselves right now.
Yeah, for certain. Those guys are kind of just pulling away while everyone else behind them has to, be involved in racing with other cars, not taking the perfect racing line. They also don't have the clean air behind them. They're all racing with that dirty air. And even though these cars don't produce a whole lot of downforce to create that pocket of dirty air, there's still the fact that, you can't see a clean track ahead of you. You have to kind of manage where you're braking compared to another car. And sometimes you might be really fast in one part of the track, and the person ahead of you just isn't very fast there, and they kind of gain up that time in other corners of the track. And it's incredibly hard to pass these cars, like I mentioned earlier.
Ooh, as we watch there, Hunter and Houston having a little bit of a battle here. We're going to go back and check out a replay. This is Jason Bridges in the High Side Hustlers Motorsports machine. Looks like that's coming through Le Mans. Oh, I think he may have just run that corner a little bit wide, took a little bit too much speed, caught a little bit of the grass there, and that'll send him around. But this is, as I was saying, is the battle for P2 in that amateur class. Alcaraz out to a commanding lead, it looks like. But Hunter and Houston duking it out here for P2.
Yeah, 16-second lead is pretty impressive, especially when we're only about 12, 13 minutes into this race. But yeah, it's really easy to overdrive that corner of the DJ before you head down the backstretch into Sunset Corner. One of the hardest corners, I would think, on the entire service, just because there are very little reference points, especially at night. And you want to maximize your speed as you go down that straightaway because there's just so much to be lost or gained depending on what kind of exit you can get out of that corner. So it's very hard to get through there cleanly.
Indeed it is. We now ride on board with Michael Janney and jump back as we're side by side in that battle with Houston and Hunter. That is going to be Houston down to the inside of turn one. Makes it stick. I think he's got it. He does indeed. The Hunter trying to fight back a little bit as they work their way through the Gurney Bend, but I don't think it's going to be to anything. That is going to be Houston up ahead and into P2. Don Hunter drops back to P3 in class.
Yeah, wonderful show of car control there by Andrew Houston to be able to go back side by side, be side by side as they enter turn one, and hey, no, just have complete control of the car. Figured he was going to end up doing a slide job maneuver and go a little bit wide and allow for Houston to get back to his inside there, but no, fantastic job by both of those drivers to keep it clean and keep both their cars on the track as we now look at Eric Stamp in the 9th position in the amateur class, driving for Stampede Racing as number 57.
Is indeed. I believe that's a lapped car there behind him in the 82. That is not for position. Here we've got another little battle. This is that trifecta that we talked about for the lead that got broken up as a result of that spin for Bodefer. A little bit of flash of the lights there, I think, out of Michael Janney as they work their way around. You can see also the battle for the lead. There's that weaving we talked about, Austin.
Yeah, weaving and flashing the light. Sometimes weaving isn't meant to get in the driver's ahead of you. It certainly does that. Usually whenever I'm weaving, I'm just kind of looking for my braking marker. I want to make sure I can get as much clean air on the nose as I possibly can. So sometimes it might always be trying to get in the driver's head. But of course, it obviously works two ways. You get to show that guy like, hey, I'm close enough to be looking. You know, I can't see where my braking point is. I feel like I'm close enough to want to pass you here. So if I end up making a move, don't be too surprised. So yeah, it certainly does a very good job indeed to get in the guy's head that's ahead of you, maybe force him into a mistake. And of course, you can force him into a mistake. You can make that pass a whole heck of a lot easier.
You can indeed. This is a battle shaping up on track. This is Garfius and Cooper, it looks like. 4P4 in that Pro-Am category. That is going to be Cooper on his way through. Josh Garfius trying to fight back a little bit down to the inside of the Gurney Bend. That's not normally an overtaking area. Forces Cooper off the track, but Cooper not letting that go quietly.
No, both these guys not giving each other one more inch than they possibly need. As we see another car spun out, it's going to be Harry Wills. He was our leader in the pro class just a couple laps ago and ended up sitting on pole here. Looks like he just had a little bit of an off.
Is indeed. There is that battle with Cooper and Garfius. Garfius trying to hold that out. And Austin, I'm looking back, that spin from Wills has allowed for Dino Filippa to catch up to the rest of the field. There is that off. I don't know what happened to Bruno Carnerio there up in the lead, but that gap is now down to 0.2 of a second. We've got a 4-car battle for the top spot.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened there, DJ. I don't know if maybe Carnero made a mistake of his own like we saw Wills make. It looks like a lot of these guys are just having a hard time breaking for some of these corners. Maybe running a little bit wide, getting the car just a tiny bit loose. But yeah, look at this 4-car battle. These guys are lockstep as they head down into turn one.
And they are indeed, and that's going to be Filippa looking down to the inside, trying to make it work. Almost contact there between him and Bruno, banging doors as they work their way through turn one. Now heading to the Gurney Bend. That's Janney trying to find a spot in behind. There they go down to the inside. Dino gets the move done, but it's not quite yet. Bruno starts to fight back on him.
Yeah, you can see these guys. It's really easy to pull the crossover move here when someone gets to your inside and ends up completing the pass because you can really pinch that guy down towards the apex of the corner and just get your car right back underneath him as we see these guys currently driving down to the hairpin. I'd look for an overtake here, DJ.
I would too, and Elvis Rankin certainly looking for an overtake, and you can see from that really nice helicopter shot the indentation on the front of Elvis Rankin's car. He picked up damage there from that earlier incident when Bodefer spun around. He's got damage on the front and rear of the car, but it doesn't look like it's hurting him.
No, certainly not hurting him that bad right now. I would be worried if I were him once my car gets out in clean air. I would be very worried if I have more drag on that car, less straightaway speed, especially on, aren't a whole lot of straightaways here. I want to say there are about 4 major ones, so definitely he's going to be hurting for certain when it comes to those areas. But right now, if he can just kind of draft behind a car ahead of him, maybe just tuck in for a second place, maybe he can make a move into sunset with a couple laps to go. But yeah, I'd be very worried if I were him right now.
I would too, but it doesn't look like it's hurting him there. It takes a lot of speed through Jean Debian and now works his way out of the Le Mans curve. That's Jean Debian now into the Le Mans curve. Learn your corners there, DJ. As they come on out, it looks like Dino Filippa has some good overspeed to be able to carry. Checking back there, that's John Cooper. That is a battle for 18th overall on your picture-in-picture as we're side by side for the lead.
side by side. I wouldn't be too surprised if we ended up getting a 3 wide here as they exit this corner. These guys are currently going at it. It's going to be Carnero on the outside, Filippa on the inside. Looks like Filippa has the advantage right now as they come out of the corner down the front stretch. Carnero going a little bit wide, almost on the grass there. But now they're going to be swapping positions in terms of who's on the outside, who's on the inside as they go into turn 1. I think that's going to be Rankin. Ends up getting slowed down a lot there. I wasn't sure if he maybe made a little bit of contact through netcode with Janie right there beside him, but currently they're going to be back single file as they head down into turns 2 and 3 here.
And it is now or never time for these drivers. The sprint format here tonight, it's only a 10-lap event. We are in 19 minutes of 20. So white flag is out. Dino Filippo leads this race. Bruno Carnero, Michael Janney, and Elvis Rankin all trying to close in behind him, Austin.
Yeah, honestly, it's do or die time. Either make a move right now or you regret it for the rest of your evening here. That we go, oh, wow, another change for the lead here as we go through here. It's going to be Dino on the outside. I think that's Carnero on the inside. Just behind him, though, is Rankin. I wouldn't think he's out of it yet.
No, he's certainly not. Elvis trying to take a look, especially as hard as these three are battling up front. They're going down there into Cunningham.
Oh, a little bit of a slide job. Wow.
That's more like the dirt racing we're used to covering there, Austin.
Yes, it is, DJ. Very surprised he was able to keep it on the course, not go too far wide in the grass. Look at these guys are still all 4 cars under a blanket. That barely slowed any of them down.
And that's Bruno trying to take a little bit of a dive there, going through Bishop and now into Jean de Bienne. There's the heavy braking zone before they line this up to get on to the Ulman Straight for the last time. This is it. It is now all down to the draft in one last corner for these lead drivers in the pro category.
Yeah, right now, if I'm Carnero, I'm trying to get as big a draft as I can down here into Sunset to see if I can't make a move here on the inside. Wouldn't rule out the outside as a possibility, too. I almost think they're going to want to go 3 wide. They're almost 3 wide. They are 3 wide. They head down in the Sunset, one of the bumpiest corners on the whole circuit. Looks like Carnero trying to go around the outside. Filippa on the inside. Contact between the two of them. Going to force Carnero wide. He's going to spin the car out.
He is indeed, but that means Dino Filippa is going to be able to take the win here. Michael Janney behind him and Elvis Rankin rounding out your podium. It looks like Bruno was able to come 5th. Caden Bin able to pop his way up into 4th.
Yeah, quite a monstrous save there by Carnero as he end up finishing the line here. Right now, we're going to go to the driver leading the Pro-Am category. It's going to be Taylor Lane, currently going into the last turn right now as they finally come around the corner. Obviously, 8-second lead over Steven Martinez to finish off this race. What a fantastic job by him today.
Yeah, an 8-second lead there on only a 20-minute race. Really, really impressive. There you can see the flash of the lights in happiness. And there is your AM winner, Bruno Alcaraz, coming across the line in that 44 Porsche.
Yeah, fantastic job by him. What a huge lead he had. Almost about a 20-second lead there over Andrew Hewson. Fantastic job by him. Right now we're looking at Errol Urich. So you can see the kind of speed Errol was able to have in the car today. Obviously one of the best passers in this league. Had to make a lot of passes in a short amount of time here today. Definitely I would expect for this to do a lot to kind of change up the point standings here as they finally cross the line. Errol actually got to finish P5.
Good run there for Errol Uriksoy in the Twisted Racing white number 63 machine. Here we check out the replay. This is Brett Bovada. That is, oh, that's not good. That is a little bit of a spin there. It looks like going down through, I believe that's the Gurney Bend.
Yeah, what a race here, DJ. That was pretty fantastic. A sprint race. I'll be honest, I wasn't too sure about the sprint race as we see Andrew Rasmussen just get a little bit crossed up there, exiting the hairpin corner. No harm, no foul. I think he only loses one. No, he's going to lose a couple more spots depending on what class those cars were in. Now we're going to look at Chris Long at his CL SimSport Porsche.
Yeah, and these are just some of the incidents that occurred over the course of the race. Yeah, just throughout a little bit too much speed there going through the left-hander. That brought him out. Going back to check out Daniel Floria here. That looks like going, we saw this one live. That was going down into Le Mans. Remember, he just got too much speed there, ran the car out wide and spun it. Didn't have any major damage to it. But that will wrap up our first race here today, Austin.
Yes, sir, DJ. We're going to go ahead and look at your race results for the AM category. It's going to be Bruno Alcaraz finishing first, followed by Andrew Hewson in second. Don Hunter's going to round out your podium, followed by Stephen Vada in fourth. Errol Yorksoy comes home fifth, with Gary Brown in sixth. Travis Kepler in seventh. Joseph Smith in eighth. Eric Stamp in ninth. And Drew Newbar rounds out your top 10. Daniel Florea is going to come home 11th, followed by Jason Bridges in 12th. And Andrew Hewitt rounds out your 13-car field for the AM category.
In that Pro-Am field, it was Taylor Lane that was able to take the win ahead of Steven Martinez, with Josh Garfias in third and John Cooper in fourth. Andrew Rasmussen was able to recover from that little spin that he had and round out your top five, with Eric Kulaga in sixth and Michael Kulaga behind him in seventh. Chris Long was eighth, followed by Casey Metzger and Brent Bravada in 10th. Jay Steffi was in 11th, followed by Jeremy Littleton in 12th.
We're going to go ahead and look at the results for the Pro category. Going to be your overall victory here. It's going to be Dino Philippa, followed by Michael Janey in second, Elvis Rankin in third, rounding out your podium. Going to be Caden Bin in fourth, Bruno Carnero in fifth, Thomas Monero in sixth, John Bodefer in seventh. In eighth is going to be John Owlett. Ninth is going to be Dave Meneno, followed by 10th. You're going to be Justin Rem. Harry Wills is going to finish 11th. Daniel Tenorio comes home 12th, and Spencer March rounds out your 13-car field for the Pro category. What a fantastic race there at the end, DJ.
It really and truly was, and it is not done yet, because we've got another one lined up, another sprint race in store tonight, Austin. It's, after that one, I am just all the more excited.
Yeah, that was a fantastic race there. Very excited for the second race here, DJ. We'll be back. We're going to look at some ads right here, and we'll be back right after those.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars, and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone, and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you back to the virtual Sebring International Raceway for the Race Anywhere Porsche Cup Series, brought to you by Sim Racing 3D and Go for the Gap, and of course, as always, the RAPC. DJ, we're back here at Sebring for a bit of a longer race today.
We are indeed 45 minutes on the docket, so it's not going to be nearly as frantic as we saw just a few minutes ago. But rest assured, Austin, I am pretty sure that you are going to see the exact same kind of energy coming out of these drivers. 45-minute race means they can set it up a little bit more and don't have to be nearly as crazy, but it's still going to be a very, very exciting one, and it's still a night race, so that adds that whole other level of difficulty like we talked about.
Yeah, for certain, DJ, it's very fun to race around here during the day. It's a different kind of fun to race around here at night. It's kind of scary to go around here. You don't know where all the corners are all the time. It's almost certainly sort of like a new challenge every time you cross the start-finish line as you go to do another lap, because it is so incredibly dark. As soon as you get your eyes off of the straightaway and off the track here, it's very hard to find your braking markers.
Yeah, indeed it is. And as we said, those sort of reflective cones can help you a little bit, but it is still not a whole lot. You've just got to be driving a lot around by instinct around here. That's kind of the only way to get it done. So we watch John Cooper there working his way around. Cooper, one of those Pro-Am drivers in that middle category, as we continue to just kind of flirt around the field and see what's going on as drivers complete the last 2 minutes of practice here.
Yeah, DJ, I want to touch on this too, how we're going to grid up the field. We saw last race it was sort of gridded inversely in terms of championship standings, but now we're actually going to flip that around and grid them in their inverse positions. So if you won the last race, that 15-minute or 20, excuse me, the 20-minute sprint race from before, now you're, or was it 15? I can't remember. Anyways, if you finish first last race, you're now going to be starting at the very back of the field. If you finish at the back of the field, you're going to be starting this race out on the pole in your respective class. So certainly still going to be a lot of passing all throughout the race today.
There certainly is, and I think that's going to be a little bit of a benefit to some of the guys who fell afoul of some problems early on. Looking specifically at Rasmussen, remember Andrew Rasmussen had that little spin early on that put him down the order. I also think it's going to present a particularly interesting opportunity for Elvis Rankin, who's currently on the top of the charts right now. Remember, Rankin had that error coming out of Sunset on that last lap, and it found him ending up in 5th place. So he may be able to get a little bit farther ahead before some of his rivals catch up to him.
Yeah, and of course, it also just depends, where you finish in the last race. We've seen a couple of these guys also when you have that problem, right? If you have a problem early on, you can recover from that, especially in a longer race. We've seen a lot of these guys in previous weeks, the hour and 15-minute races. So if you make a mistake in the first 15 minutes, you still have an hour or more to make up for that mistake. We've seen a lot of those guys be able to recover back for podiums in their respective classes. But in these shorter sprint races, you kind of make one mistake and your entire race is done, especially depending on when exactly you make it. We saw 2 of the series, championships in the last event, won by 8 and 20 seconds respectively.
Exactly, and so that could be a little bit of a death knell for some drivers as they see that those big numbers getting posted. I think for other drivers, they're just going to be excited to try to push their way forward as much as possible. But we tick down. There is the checkered flag being waved by Barney the Flagman, and we're about ready to get racing here, Austin.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and get you guys your starting lineups for each of these classes here in a couple seconds and get those pulled up on screen so we can go ahead and run through those for our 3 respective classes. You can see the iRacing pace car lining up on the front stretch as we go ahead and give you your pro category lineup. Spencer March going to be starting on pole position, followed by Harry Wills in second, Justin Rem in third, Dave Menino in fourth, Jonathan Owlett in fifth with John Bodefer in sixth. Seventh is going to be Bruno Carnero with Caden Bin in eighth. Elvis Rankin lines up ninth with Michael Janey in 10th. Dino Filippa lines up 11th, and Daniel Tenorio lines up 12th. 13th place in this pro category. Actually, there isn't one. DJ?
In that Pro-Am category, that sandwich in the middle of the field, it's going to be Thomas Mourinho in first place, followed by Jeremy Littleton with Brent Bravada and Chris Long lining up behind then. Andrew Rasmussen will start off in fifth, followed by John Cooper with Josh Garfias in seventh and Steven Martinez in eighth. Bruno Alcaraz will be ninth, followed by Taylor Lane in P10. In P11, it's going to be Jay Steffi, followed by Casey Metzger with Michael Kulaga in 13th and Eric Kulaga lining up in 14th.
Two brothers in the final row in the Pro-Am category. In the Am category, it's going to be Andrew Hewitt lining up on pole with Jason Bridges in second. Third place is going to be Daniel Florea. Lining up fourth is Drew Neubauer. Fifth place is going to be Eric Stamp. Lining up sixth is Joseph Smith. Lining up seventh is going to be Travis Kepler with Gary Brown. And eighth, ninth is going to be Errol Uriksoy. 10th is Stephen Vada. Lining up 11th is Don Hunter, and Andrew Hewson lines up your starting order for the Am category.
Indeed they do, and so a lot of those big drivers that we saw making some great charges through the field having to start from the back here, obviously. I've really got my eyes on Dino Filippa, Caden Bin, and Michael Janney in that starting off pro category. I think they're going to be ones to watch out for in particular, but all the way up and down this field, it's going to be very, very competitive as these guys charge their way up forward.
Yeah, certainly. It's going to be a lot of these guys knowing for a fact that they finish ahead of the drivers that are running ahead of them right now in the last race, so they obviously have that pace advantage. A lot of these guys are starting in the back in this race that also started in the back in the last race. So, of course, there's obviously that kind of pace difference there where you know you should be able to pass this guy, but it's so incredibly hard to make passes at this track, especially when it's dark time. We're going to see a lot of blinking of the headlights, weaving around like we mentioned last time, DJ.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to see a lot of drivers probably trying to go a little bit defensive. You're going to see some drivers trying to attempt a couple of things. But I think the biggest thing is with this longer race format, I think you're going to see a little bit more calm out of these drivers. They're not going to push nearly as hard, and we may not see the frenetic energy that we saw in that first race. We'll still see some good racing. We'll still see some good fights. But I think it's going to be interesting. Another one to watch, by the way, in that top category, Harry Wills. He was leading for a lot of that race, had a little off. Let's see if Harry's able to keep it together here. He may have a good run.
Yeah, for certain. I look for him to be one of the guys that wants to go out here and prove himself. Going down through the field there, I think Dan Tenorio, one of the best passers in this league. Jay Steffi, fantastic in these cars. In your AM category, I really feel like Eric Kulaga, one of the best passers in that M category. Look for him and Errol Uriksoy to come up through the field in that. So that's kind of who I'm picking to keep your eyes on during this race as we currently go ahead and see the pro category here. Just getting ready to go down that long back straightaway coming out of Le Mans corner.
Yeah, indeed, and they're lining their way right now through Le Mans. As you said, one of the most crucial corners on the track. We saw a couple of drivers loop it there in that last session, just getting a little bit off kilter. We've also seen some drivers get very, very good overspeed there, obviously setting up for that pass into Sunset like we saw on the final lap. But they're about halfway down Le Mans right now, and it's about time to get racing.
Yeah, certainly one of the best passing opportunities here as we head down into Sunset. Obviously incredibly bumpy. That's one of the things we can't stress enough is just how bumpy it is in the sim. Even in real life, of course, we do have the luxury in the sim of not having that tailbone slap that you mentioned there, DJ, but to the pro category, excuse me, gonna head and come down here through Sunset. As they head down on the front straightaway, there is a zone where the leader can start wherever he would like to. Even if iRacing waves the green flag, you're gonna see it come up here on the screen where there's a start-finish line. Usually the race will be started there, but of course they give the leader the option to start whenever he'd like to. So you're going to see him probably hold up the field as long as he can down the front straightaway until the absolute last second. That's what we saw all three of the leaders in the classes do here last race. You can see now halfway down the front stretch, finally the leader, Spencer March, puts his foot down on the loud pedal and leads them down into turn one. Going to be absolutely clear, non-contested for him as they're going to go Noah's Ark style behind him.
They're a little bit more than Noah's Ark style. They're about 5 by 5 as they work their way through that corner. 3 wide going down through the Gurney bend. You see there on the screen, in screen, Jeremy Littleton leading the field to green, waiting for the go from that Gulf liveried Porsche. That just sounds good to say as there Littleton gets on the loud pedal. He is going to be off, and again, that's a good clear lead for your leader in class. Looks like Bravada's going to slot in behind. A little bit more of a clean start for them.
Well, very wide for Jeremy Littleton there. Super wide as he goes off the track. So did the driver in second. I believe that was Brent Bravada also going wide right now as we see our AM category finally starting as well. Andrew Hewitt leads them down into turn one. Almost uncontested. Looks like he is going to be clear to go down through there all by himself. Not going to go a little bit wide, but Dan Florea in second place also fighting very hard for that lead as they head down at turn two.
Yes, he is there. You see a little bit of scrapping going on there. Neubauer and Stamp trying to go at it. A little bit of a check up as well as they work their way through the Gurney Bend and come back onto the straightaway. And in that Pro-Am category, by the way, that was Bravada that also went off. That was a little bit of monkey see, monkey do as we jump our way back up to the top class. This is the Pro class. Dave Menino in fourth right now, holding off a whole flock of Porsches.
Yeah, currently, this is all the drivers who are a little bit faster than Dave in the last race. They're just trying to get by him slowly but surely. Like you said, DJ, I think it's, we're going to see a lot of this throughout the night here. The pro drivers, obviously, they don't have a whole lot of patience. They know who they can pass. They want to make those passes as soon as they can. The Pro-Am drivers kind of taking a little bit of a split approach. You can see one driver, Dave Menino, spinning as they head down the back straightaway here.
Oh, that was a little bit of the commentator's curse there, I fear. Dave Menino looping it around Le Mans corner, as we said. This is Josh Garfias right now as he works his way in second in that Pro-Am category. Garfias up 5 positions already off of that start, obviously benefiting a little bit from Littleton and Bravada going off at the first turn.
Yeah, for sure. I'm getting word right now that Brent Bavada has manually disconnected from the sim. Unfortunate for him. As you see, Steven Martinez looks like another driver off there behind him. As you can see, whoa, a little bit of unsafe rejoin there. Going right to the middle of the track. We're going to get a replay of that right here. This is going to be Chris Long as they head down through that one French corner. DJ, I can't pronounce it like you do because I don't quite have those muscles to do that, but you can see Chris Long getting it a little bit wrong there in the Pro-Am category. Oh, as he gets collected by a couple other drivers. I'm not quite sure who that was.
That was a big, big check up there, as that is Martinez able to get back and rejoin, but he's going to be coming down pit lane there, I think. Not exactly the best there for him. That's going to promote Rasmussen up to fourth behind him and obviously everybody else around him. But we're going to jump back up to the pro category. Harry Wills up into second right now, trying to keep his pace going right now. Everybody else is really slotted in around him. Justin Ream up 2 positions and John Bodefer behind him up 3. Elvis Rankin up 6. There's a little bit of a side-by-side between Wills and Bodefer. Wills is going to hold it for now.
Yeah, Wills is doing a fantastic job holding these guys off. What great car control there between those two drivers. Obviously, Harry Gibb and John, just enough room to get it done. You can see right now we're looking at Andrew Hewitt. I believe he was one of the cars. Yep, he was spun going into turn 1. Saw that just out of the corner of my eye, and you can see both those drivers getting it a little bit wrong, spinning into the tires. Fortunately, though, in iRacing, sometimes the tires do not do any damage to the car. You kind of just keep going back to where you were. The only thing you're going to lose is that time you lost from spinning. No damage on the car to worry about for the rest of the race.
Yeah, exactly. That is one of the benefits, and one of the benefits of driving these GT cars as we jump back in that pro field. The Caden Bin right now, who is right in the middle of a big, big fight. He's got Dino Filippo right ahead of him, and Michael Janney behind him trying to close in a little bit is Bin. Looks like there's not going to be a whole lot of movement up through Sunset. Elvis Rankin may be thinking about a move on John Bodefer. Get some good overspeed coming out of the corner, and indeed, that's going to be Rankin poking his nose to the inside as they cross over the start-finish line.
He's still looking to the inside as they head down into turn 1. This is one of the best places to overtake on the entire circuit right here. Probably second only to the Hairpin and Sunset maybe. Obviously those two are in a tight tie as these drivers still side by side as they head down into turn 2. Not one of them giving the other driver more than an inch of what they need. You can see that's going to be Filippo just barely able to slot back in line there, DJ.
I think Dino may have caught a little bit of contact there from John Bodefer, who tried to shut the door on him the best that he can. But Elvis Rankin, the story there, moving his way up forward. He is now into third and has his sights squarely set on Harry Wills.
Yeah, certainly a lot of give and take here in the early parts of the race. Obviously, we're going to see all that give going away. It's just going to be take, take, take. If that were probably the last 5 minutes of this race, I guarantee we would have seen a collision there. And one of those drivers, maybe both of them, would have had a ruined race. You can see in the M category, that's going to be Hunter right now, putting in the fastest lap in his category.
It is indeed, so a good run there for him. We follow now Caden Bin, who slots in behind Dino Filippo. Not sure if that car suffered any lasting damage there or if that was just a little bit of a checkup. But this is the leaders of class right now. This is from Harry Wills on back, all the way back to, it looks like, if my timing screens are correct, P8. They are separated only by 3 seconds. So absolutely fierce battling here.
Yeah, that's right, DJ. P1 to P8 in the pro category, only separated by about 3 whole seconds. So you can see very intense battling here. These guys obviously being caught behind the slower drivers that can't really make a whole lot of headway as they go through here. It's one thing to catch a guy, it's another thing to pass him, and passing at Sebring very, very hard to do right now, as it looks like Elvis Rankin currently looking on the inside of John Bodefer as they head down into Sunset. It's going to be the left-hand side of your screen there. They go down into Sunset. It's going to be Bodefer on the inside. Rankin on the inside, Bodefer on the outside. Going to try for a look for a bit of a crossover here coming out of Sunset, going on the front straightaway. Doesn't look like he'll be able to make it work here.
Exactly, able to get that move done, but there comes Harry Wills trying to fight back around the outside, going into the first corner. That is Justin Ream, the leader in class, right there ahead of them. This battling is going to help out Justin for sure. They get their way through, and Harry's got to fall back into line as now everybody starts to go single file for just the moment.
Riding on board here with Harry Wills as we head down into turns 3 and 4. You can see this is one of the most technical sections, very slow part of the course that, of course, leads these drivers down into the hairpin. Very long straightaway here. You got to make sure you put those corners together as best you can and make sure you don't lose a whole lot of time here going down to the hairpin. One of the best opportunities for a late braking dive bomb maneuver, sort of get to someone's inside. Of course, be able to get a giant run down here from the second backstretch as they head down here to the sweeping left and right handers. Very easy to cut that one corner. Gains you a little bit of time. Not too much traction loss there either, DJ.
No, there isn't, and a bit of an interesting line there for Harry Wills going into the hairpin. You saw just how close he was to that. You normally tend to see drivers taking a little bit of a later apex through that corner, trying to maximize speed on corner exit. But it's clearly working for Harry, so who am I to guess? But we jump back here. This is Casey Metzger as Kulaga is behind him right now, trying to close in on that battle.
Yeah, Eric, one of the best passers in this league. Obviously, he started well down the field, being one of the highest drivers to finish in the Pro-Am category last race, so he's currently got a lot of position to make up. Plenty of time to do it, though. We've still got about 38 minutes left here in this race. Obviously, a lot longer race. Triple the length of the last race, so these guys have a lot more time on their hands. Wouldn't be too surprised to see some of these guys end up changing a lot more positions as the race goes on.
Yeah, indeed, Justin, is everything just trying to sort itself out here. We check back up again on that battle in the pro category as they work their way. Harry Wills looking like he lost a little bit of touch there to Elvis Rankin ahead of him, and John Bodefer starting to close in on the back right now of that 95 machine. Oh, that's a big slide for Harry Wills!
Yeah, got a little bit wide there going to the grass. Of course, there's no grip out there. Slides the car into the wall. Doesn't look like it hurt him too badly. Just kind of upset the car. Obviously, lost him some speed down the straightaway, so he got passed by one driver. It's going to be John Bodefer. He's currently going to put that car into the last spot on the podium. Harry, it looks like, he's just currently got the hounds on him right now.
Yeah, he really does. And remember, Harry started at the pole in the last race and started off, I believe, in second in this race. So definitely that is partially a result of that bad spin that he had. But Bodefer able to get by him right now. And now he's got Dino Filippa right behind him. Dino, a very aggressive driver. There goes Dino down to the inside of the hairpin. Is Harry going to give him space? Gives him just a little bit, and that is enough for Dino to try to take it. But they're still going to be duking it out. Harry has the inside as they work their way up through the Fangio curve. I think he's able to hold on to it. No, it's not done yet.
No, each driver giving the other one just barely enough space to get it done here. Looks like Filippa actually, maybe might have forced Harry a little bit up onto the curb there as they went down through that left-hander, but currently it's going to be Filippa gaining the position. You can see Wills just trying to stop the bleeding as best as he can right now. That's just what you have to do to sort of maximize the points you can gain here. Of course, obviously these are set up to put the slower guys usually at the front of the field by inverting whatever you do. Normally when you invert, the slowest guys usually go further, especially ahead of the faster guys. So what you got to do at that point is just try to slow the bleeding as much as you can to finish as high off as you can. Obviously Harry Wills doing a decent job of that until right there, just getting really flustered by everyone, especially on a track like this. Very flowing circuit. If you get one corner just a little bit wrong, it's going to affect the rest of your lap here.
Yeah, and there you can see he's really fallen back to the back of that pack. Olet now about 5 seconds behind him, but we focus on that picture-in-picture as we watch here actually the battle for the lead in that pro standings. Justin Ream being hounded by Elvis Rankin as they cross over the start-finish line. Elvis, remember, did a really good job in that last race to move his way forward and then fell afoul in the last dying moments. He's going to dive his way to the inside of turn one. I think that's going to be move relatively done and dusted for Elvis. That's a little bit of a fight back for Ream, but it's too little too late.
Certainly, DJ Rem obviously cut clear into the lead here. Excuse me, Rankin, that is. Rem back down in the second. Rankin was about 4/10 of a lap, second of a lap faster that last lap. I would certainly expect for that pace to continue here the next couple laps. Obviously, even a little bit more, maybe an entire half a second. Rankin now as he has the clean air. You can obviously see that interval on the left-hand side of your screen right now as we look at John D. Cooper in the Pro-Am category right now trying to hunt down Garfius, currently the leader in that Pro-Am category.
And I've been keeping an eye on this battle out of the corner of my eye here, Austin. It has been very, very tight since the drop of the green flag. There's almost nothing separating the two. Their sector times nearly identical. I'm getting the sense that John Cooper is just laying in wait a little bit, that he doesn't want to push too hard too early, and he's just letting the race come to him, seeing if he can maybe force Garfius into a mistake.
Yeah, certainly. We saw these two guys fighting a lot in the last race, and it's incredibly hard to pass right here. You can see him getting incredibly close to the rear end of Garfius. Right now, he's kind of just trying to get into his head. He's certainly saving his tires. These cars, obviously, they chew through the tires if these guys aren't easy on them, especially hard to put down the power, even get through the corners once you've overheated your tires. They start to wear even faster. So right now, I feel like what you mentioned, DJ, kind of just a lion sitting in the grass here, the tall grass, just waiting, stalking his prey, obviously, and Garfius. Both these drivers incredibly fast, though.
Yeah, both drivers incredibly fast, and you really hit on one of the few drawbacks of this Porsche, and that is it being a rear-engine, rear-wheel drive machine. As a result, it is very, very easy to spin those rear tires up as you put a lot of speed, a lot of torque down in the rear of that car, and it's very easy to find yourself slipping and sliding. You don't necessarily have to worry as much about tire wear over the course of a 45-minute race, but that overheating that you talked about, Austin, that's what can really bite you. If you get too much heat too early into those tires, it will absolutely act like that they have completely given out on you.
Yeah, certainly. It's a really vicious cycle here, too, because you start to get the tires hot, they have less grip, and the less grip they have, the harder they get because you're just spinning them to kingdom come. It's currently Drew Neubauer. Currently, it looks like a fairly tight battle in the AM category for third place, but of course not as tight as that battle we see between those two there. Now, right now, we're looking at Eric Kulaga in the 10th position as we go back up to Caden Bin in 6th. These guys still obviously nose to tail from first to about 8th or 9th right now. Currently only 4.5 seconds back to Harry Wills in 8th position from your leader, Elvis Rankin. Of course, that 3-second barrier right now goes all the way back to 7th place. That's going to be Bruno Carnero, one of the other faster guys. Obviously, he was going to come home on the podium were it not for a little bit of a late race spin coming out of the last turn there, relegated him down to 5th. Currently, he has a lot of ground to make up still as we go through the second half of this race here.
Indeed, we do, as now they work their way through the tower turn. It looks like Caden Bin's got a little bit more speed here to be able to carry out on trying to get past Michael Janney right now. He's really hounding the back of that number 2 Porsche as they get their way through Bishop and into Jean Debienne, lining up for Le Mans. I think Caden looks like he fell back a little bit in that final sector. Not a whole lot, but just enough to kind of hurt him a little bit. This is a replay. Harry Wills looks like he had a little bit of an error.
Yeah, it looks like he just locked up the tires a little bit, went to a little bit wide there, and then, of course, trying to turn the car back to the right and put the power down. Just spun the car out. That's obviously, just due to overheating the tires a little bit. Tries to join as safely as possible, just slot back in line. It's going to relegate him back down to probably, I believe, 10th in the class for certain, obviously, out of that 8th position now being filled by John Ellett.
Indeed. Ooh, that was Dino Filippo looking there a little bit aggressive on John Bodefer. Is he going to try to go? Bodefer tries to swing to the outside there, carry more momentum through the corner, but that's Filippo trying to hold it down to the inside. Are they going to be side by side going into turn 1? They are indeed. Ooh, but that is going to let Bodefer go by, and Janney says, yes, I'd like some of that, please, as he tries to get his way past Dino, but that is all for naught. All drivers fall back exactly where they were when everything started.
Yeah, certainly, DJ. You see one guy make a move on someone, and while he's flustered, you want to do everything you can in your power to try and take advantage of him being flustered to gain another position, because all these guys want to obviously move up positions as much as they can. You can see the weaving here as we go down into the hairpin. That's going to be Filippa and Janney as they head down into the hairpin. Currently almost too wide there as they go through the hairpin. Now back onto that weaving back straightaway.
Every time, Austin, I think one of these guys is going to make a move, it ends up being a move for somebody else that gets made. Caden Bin looks like he's dropping off the back of this big defensive move that becomes an offensive move for Dino Filippa. They're going down into Cunningham, banging doors with John Bodefer. Bodefer skips across the grass. He's going to lose 2 positions as Michael Janney and Caden Bin able to get by him.
Yeah, obviously very, very unfortunate there for Bodeford to fall down the order. He was running such a fantastic race here, DJ. Obviously wasn't quite as fast as the drivers behind him, obviously, as the nature is with these inverted fields. But yeah, just a little bit of a door bang there. Obviously, one driver sliding a bit up and one driver crowding a little bit too much. But I think that's just a racing deal.
Oh, for sure. I would not say that was malicious in any way, shape, or form. But we continue to follow here. This is Janny. Caden Bin, who I'd said was dropping off the back of that pack a little bit. All of that action has allowed for Caden to close right back in behind him. And you can see Philippa, Janny, and Bin just running 1, 2, 3 there for that final podium position.
Yeah, these guys locked heel and toe. You currently put a blanket over these guys from first all the way back to seventh. Obviously, only separated by about 3.5 seconds. So you can see all these guys currently still. No one's out of it as of yet right now, unless you're further down the field. But I'd say all these guys certainly in with a shot. You can see not a whole lot of pace difference between these guys. Obviously, the last 5 minutes we spoke about it. The gap's only changed about what, a half a second, DJ?
Yeah, there's almost nothing in there, and that is Justin Ream, who looked like he had a little bit of a bad run through turn 1, so this is now a 4-car battle there, as Dino's been able to catch up to the back of him. Is that going to allow for any more passing to go on? They work their way through Gurney Bend right now. Michael Janney trying to get the power on the best he can. I think he may have a little bit of something.
I feel like that too, DJ, especially heading down in here into the hairpin corner. This is where we see a lot of overtakes here. One of the best overtaking spots on the whole track. Yeah, obviously a bad first corner for Justin Rem there as they head down in turn 1, or excuse me, the hairpin turn. Currently, though, no overtaking look like it's going on right now, but I wouldn't be too surprised if Philip would try to force up the inside here if he gets close enough to Rem.
Oh, I think it may be Janney that tries to force a little bit of move. That's Dino having to go defensive as they work their way into Cunningham. They come their way back around. That is Andrew Hewitt, a lapped car that they're having to work their way around, able to clear them nice and easy. It looks like Hewitt actually going onto the grass to avoid anything. Diving down now into Tower Turn. They get their way back onto the power and continue to run 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, good sportsmanship there from that second class car to obviously just get out of the way and let these guys through here. You can still put a blanket over these 4 cars, still fighting for that second position.
Yeah, they're continuing to fight for it. I have to say that Caden Bin over the last couple of sectors looking very, very aggressive. This is Drew Neubauer, though. This is back in that AM category. Now, they're about equidistant between himself, Don Hunter, and Joseph Smith. That's 1, 2, 3. That is your podium. You can throw a blanket over them as well.
Yeah, all the battles with these races, especially even in the Pro-Am category too, you could throw a blanket over the first couple guys in each of these classes. Obviously, what an exciting race going on here. Still looking at Drew Neubauer from his team Premat, a number 47 car. It looks like he's being hunted a little bit by Smith behind him. Obviously, he'd like to take that middle podium spot if he can. So we go back right now to the lead, the battle in the Pro category. That's going to be between Michael Jakey, Justin Rem, Dino Filippa, and Caden Bin, just barely behind these guys, not too far out.
No, it is not, and that's allowing for Bruno Carnerio to come in behind them in P6 as well. So this is almost becoming a 5-car battle now. Justin Rem able to pull away a little bit more. This is Bruno Alcaraz, though, and Littleton duking it out for the final podium position in Pro-Am.
Yeah, what a recovery there from Littleton. Obviously, he was the leader in this category, went a little bit wide in turn 1 there, was forced to give up a lot of positions as they head down into turn 2. Currently, though, a change for the, I believe that's the 3rd position. It's going to be Filippa. Currently, they're still fighting in those cars as well, but you can see Alcaraz trying to go around the outside of Littleton here to try and hold off that spot from Littleton. What a recovery, though, from both these drivers.
Indeed, Littleton to the inside there as they sweep their way. Oh, big miscorrection from from Alcaraz there. That's a big off in the back there. I believe that was Carnerio there that had a big run wide as Caden Bin, while we looked away, had been able to sneak on past Michael Janney up into 4th place.
Yeah, these guys have been duking out the entire time. We were looking at other drivers. These guys still going at it. Very hard to tell when one of those is going to end up making a pass because you see it's incredibly hard to pass here. You have to look a couple times, make a couple attempts before it finally works out. We're going to see a replay here as Eric Stamp in that number 57 Porsche just goes a little bit wide there in the hairpin. Obviously, braking mishap there. You've seen that happen for a lot of these drivers. Goes to rejoin the track later. This is going to be Andrew Rasmussen going a little bit wide here as he heads down the back stretch.
Yeah, and that one I think is a little bit more of those overheating issues that we've talked about in the rear tires. A couple of the other ones, I think it's just misjudging the braking zone potentially. Oh my goodness, that is the off there from Alcaraz. And Dino Filippa has had a big moment coming through Sunset, has lost 2 positions. Caden Bin up into 3rd, Michael Janney able to get by him as well.
Yeah, obviously heartbreak corner there for Philippa as they head down through there. And Sunset will go back live here looking at Michael Gianni in that 4th position. Currently it's Rankin out by 3.2 seconds. He's pulling away, just loving the fact these guys are battling behind him, almost gifting him the race win right now as long as he keeps it clean and passes some of these slower class cars. Obviously you saw that a couple laps ago as they made their way through there with that AM driver kindly getting out of the way and a move of sportsmanship there. But it's currently Rankin, Rem, Bin, Gianni, Filippa, and Carnero. If these guys aren't careful, I wouldn't be too surprised if John Bodefer got back into this mix.
I certainly think he could, and there you saw just a little bit of a fade from Michael Janney and a response from Caden Bin. As we got that picture-in-picture, that is the battle for the lead of the Pro-Am category that we had been watching a little bit earlier. Josh Garfias had been able to pull away a little bit from John Cooper, but now the Turbo Burn Moto machine number 18 has been able to pull right back behind Garfias in that 96, and the battle is still raging.
Yeah, you can see those guys, especially Cooper and Garvius, they haven't lost touch with each other, currently just hounding one another. Both these guys have very equal pace. I feel like they're just kind of waiting to see what happens for the rest of this race. Obviously, no need to make a move right now and slow each other down if you feel like you can later. And of course, sometimes, even though you're faster than someone, you're not that extra tenth or two faster to be able to make a pass here, especially not into the later ends of the race. Maybe you're trying to make it be about a tire game, maybe some fuel saving going on right now between these guys, of course. The less time you can spend in pit road, the more time you have out on the track to make your move. Sometimes it's also just easier to make that move kind of on pit road, DJ.
Indeed it is. As we jump back, this is Harry Wills. Ooh, getting a little bit of a love tap there behind. I believe that was Bodefer, or excuse me, it was Michael Olette that was able to get by him there. That was Wills, I think, just kind of bobbling a little bit coming down through Le Mans, and Olette not necessarily anticipating that. And speaking of pit stops, we've got our first one. Dino Filippa comes down pit lane.
Yeah, Dino is fighting with those other drivers for what was going to be the 2nd and 3rd position there in the Pro category. Just steers his Porsche down pit lane right now as we look at Harry Wills. Wouldn't be too surprised to see some other guys start making pit stops, of course.
Yeah, and especially for a guy like Harry that's had a couple of bobbles like that, I often see drivers, if you make a mistake like that, you make a little bit of a bobble, it's a great idea to come down pit lane, kind of get your head reset, and get back out on track. Now, Filippa back out a pit stop of 8.5 seconds as he was stationary in the box, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Oh, that was a mistake from Justin Rem. Justin Rem has lost a position coming through the hairpin.
Yeah, a little bit of a slip up there. It's going to allow Caden Bin to get through as we're going to see the replay here. It's going to be Jay Steffi going a little bit wide as he comes out of the Le Mans corner down the back straightaway, ends up nosing his car into the wall. Doesn't look like it's too damaged, though. I feel like he can keep going. Jay Steffi, obviously one of the faster guys in this league, especially in Porsches. We saw him do so very well in that Race Anywhere Transatlantic Series. We're going to see that replay a second time from him in his Q3 Sim Sports Porsche.
Yeah, exactly, and that is not the only person that we've seen in here. Then is that replay. That is Rem going a little bit wide, and Caden Bin saying, thank you very much, I will take that 2nd place position. But all of that battling, look at that gap there on your screen. Elvis Rankin, to the tune of about 4 seconds, able to sneak away.
Yeah, just a couple laps ago, it was only 2 and 3 seconds, so these guys certainly fighting between them, letting Elvis Rankin just drive away with this thing, obviously almost locking himself into the victory here as long as he can continue to not have any mishaps with the slower class drivers, any mechanical failures, things of that nature. So it's still not a runaway race for him, but certainly a lot more comfortable than we'd like it to be. Of course, as a fan or as a commentator, you want there to be a battle for the lead instead of just 2nd place, but obviously running a fantastic race is Rankin right now.
Certainly is, and who also is running a fantastic race there is Michael Janney, who has been able to really pull in behind Justin Rem. I think that number 88 may be a little bit flustered here. We watch there the picture-in-picture as Harry Wells tries to close in on the back of Olette right now. Thomas Mourinho also diving down pit lane in the 77.
Yeah, look at how much Janny's having to fight with the steering wheel as he makes his way through some of these corners. It's incredibly hard to put the power down, especially with these guys climbing up over those large curbs there, especially in the first couple corners of this track, Sector 1. Very, very tall curbs there. You want to make sure you cut those just perfectly to make sure you can get a giant run here down the backstretch into the hairpin turn to try and make sure you get an overtake. And, of course, now they head down through the left-right sweeping back straightaway here as they head down in the next couple corners. You want to make sure you especially straight line these things, too.
Yeah, you really, really do. You don't want to put as much input into the wheel as humanly possible, as any bit of that little sawing that you will do will take time out of your overall lap. Drivers here continuing to work their way down now into the tower turn. Sometimes you can see a pass there, but none of these guys really close enough to be able to get it there, but they're still staying within about 0.5 of a second of one another. We've got a couple of more pitters down lower in the categories. I see Don Hunter and Joseph Smith both opting to make their pit stops.
Yeah, you can see a couple of these guys finally choosing to come into the pits right now. Obviously, like you said, DJ, a little bit of a mental reset for you. Obviously, these guys aren't changing tires. They're just filling up their cars with fuels. You see another car currently very slow down the backstretch as well, just on the side of these guys. Looks like that's going to be Jay Steffi. I feel like he must have made the same mistake as he had before. Or either that or he's just incredibly slow after that damage that we saw him take coming out of that corner as well.
Yeah, he also may just be sticking out of the way there is who I believe, yes indeed, that's going to be Justin Rem diving down pit lane. So the highest driver right now comes down in the form of the 88. Now it is going to be crucial to see where Dino Filippa comes out in regards to him as we keep our eyes here. The battle in the back of the field, that is Moreno right on your screen as he is trying to hold off, I believe that's Tenoro behind him.
Yeah, certainly, DJ. You can see all these battles currently happening all the way up and down the field right now as we look at Jonathan Owlett in the number 27 car, currently up in 7th position, getting a couple spots from those earlier drivers finishing higher than him in the standings currently as they go down pit road. You can see, a little bit of a differing strategy here for pit stops. You want us to pit in the middle of the race, save your pit stop to the very end, or pit kind of in the middle, where you want to pit. Certainly very interesting to see. Usually I feel like you want to pit as late as you can, run the race with as little amount of fuel in the car to try and decrease that lap time as the race goes on. But of course, obviously, it really just depends when you catch other cars, when you catch some of the lap traffic. Also, if you just need that mental reset, it's so easy to get flustered. We saw that happen to the 88 car there as he currently, just getting more and more flustered at Justin Rim. So obviously a earlier pit stop there needed for him to kind of get his head in the right spot again to come back out here and finish as high as he possibly can.
Exactly, and I can report that Dino Filippa was able to come out ahead of Justin Rem to the tune of about 1.5 seconds. So we'll have to see if that trend continues to play out. Continuing to watch Jonathan Ouellette here as he works his way around, trying to hold off Spencer Marsh in the 74 and a hard charge behind him.
Yeah, certainly, DJ. Sometimes it's also if you know you're faster than the driver ahead of you, you want to pit earlier than him to try and offset yourself, so now you can make that pass with clean air, even though you might have to pass a couple slower class cars sometimes and get out of the way. And sometimes your pace advantage could just be so great that you just end up passing that guy naturally. Also, it could just be he doesn't take as much fuel as you've taken or vice versa. Obviously, these guys don't need to make a second pit, so you pit once right now, that's it for the rest of the race, unless you, of course, have a huge miscalculation for your fuel and then, of course, not having enough to finish off the race.
Indeed. So there you see Ouellette trying to now close in the battle, shifting around a little bit on the back of Harry Wills. Let's see if any of these drivers opt to come down pit lane. I'm seeing a couple of the leaders coming in. Carnero and Wills decides to come down. So that battle a little bit scuppered there. Your top 4 all staying out. This is Caden Bin having a moment.
Yeah, you can see him there and getting incredibly loose as they head down through turn 1, obviously having to carry that oversteer to the outer part of the track, going a little bit for a little bit of an adventure there on the outside of the turn 1, but obviously he was able to control the car. What a handful these things must be there as soon as you overheat those rear tires. As we look here for a replay of Thomas Marino passing that slower class car to his outside there. Sportsmanship between the two drivers as we go back live to look back again at the 5th place car of Jonathan Owlett, the number 27.
And he's still trying to hold off Spencer Marsh behind him. I'm keeping an eye on everybody where they're coming out in regards to one another. It looks like Wills was able to get out nice and easy there. Everybody's staying in pretty much the position they came in the pits on. But this is Marsh really starting to try to put the screws here to Jonathan Ouellette.
Yeah, if you're Marsh right now, it's kind of about pride. Obviously, you started in the first position. You were set on pole for finishing the last of the drivers in your category in the last race. So right now, even though you were losing positions, you want to try and stop the bleeding. Sometimes, of course, if you do get the opportunity to pass a guy back because maybe, you find something else out, he's having a bad time on track, or you've just saved his tires more than he has been for a while, you obviously want to try to scrape back as many positions as possible. This is a very long season, especially with as many sprint races and even full endurance races as we have. Every position is worth about 5 points, so I want to make sure you get as many points as possible.
Indeed, and your leader, Elvis Rankin, has decided to dive down pit lane here. So that is obviously the highest placed driver to come down pit lane. Seeing some drivers in the lower classes dive down as well. Continuing to watch Jonathan Ouellette holding off Spencer Marsh. It was a little bit of an early entrance from Ouellette, and my suspicions are confirmed. Both drivers coming down pit lane, so this is going to be a battle of the virtual pit crews now.
Yeah, and just as soon as these guys enter pit road, that's going to be Elvis Rankin leaving pit road. Currently, it's going to be in about the... Oh, gosh, I can't tell. He's so far down the field as we look right now, but having a fantastic race from all these guys. You can see a little bit of an artificial lead change. Currently, some of the drivers that are currently lead have not made their only pit stop in the race yet as we now look at the other picture-in-picture. It's going to be Dave Minetto who's currently taken over that 5th position, trying to hold off. Oh, looks like Filippo is just able to barely get by him there.
Indeed, and that is good for Philippa, but he still has about 5 seconds to try to catch back up to your leader, who we assume will be the leader once all these pit cycles complete, Elvis Rankin. Watch now Andrew Rasmussen as he works his way around. Rasmussen has come into pit lane, and he is trying to hold off, or trying to catch Gary Brown, who has not pitted yet.
That's correct, DJ. You can currently see the split between these guys. Still obviously very close as you look down through the field. Some of these guys obviously artificially in the lead right now because they haven't taken their one and only pit stop. I assume these guys will be pitting very, very shortly here as we only have about, I want to say, looks like 13 minutes left here before the end of this race. So obviously time's ticking down. It's time to move your seat or otherwise move your feet, these guys run out of time.
We knew what you meant there, Austin. We knew it indeed. As I've got my eyes, there is that battle, though. John Cooper continuing to fight with Garfias. That battle continuing, and all of the leaders here, Janney, Ben, and Bodefer, coming down pit lane. So this is going to determine the order here. I've got my eye on Dino Filippa as he comes around in P5. That is that battle that we were following earlier. But man, oh man, Garfias and Cooper continuing to go at it. Both of them have taken their pit stops, by the way.
Yeah, certainly. Obviously, incredible to see these guys as close as they are throughout the entirety of this race. Obviously, Casey Metzger ahead of them by the tune of 15 seconds. He hasn't taken his pit stop yet, so it looks like the current winner in the Pro-Am category going to be either Garfias or Cooper. Very, very intense battle between the two of them as we see Andrew Rasmussen got a little bit wrong in the 7th position there in his number 11 Porsche. We'll try to get a replay of that in the next couple laps here, but we're still looking at John Cooper and Garfias as they continue to battle.
All right, and here's a replay on Andrew Rasmussen, the driver, the number 11, going down into the hairpin. Oh, I think he caught a little bit of that inside curbing. And you really get a good sense there, Austin, when you see those headlights come off the track of just how limited these drivers' field of view are. But the big story that we were following there, Dino Filippa able to come out in P3 around everybody, but his big problem right now is he has got Caden Ben all over the tail of him right now. Ben really trying to close in. Bad news for Dino as he's about 3 seconds back up from behind Michael Janney.
Yeah, that's right. Obviously, the offset pit strategy between these two cars currently gave Felipe a little bit of an advantage. Obviously, we'll have to see if he can try and eke out that advantage as we continue to go here. But I want to say Caden Ben right now, the faster car between the two of them, looks like he is going to be able to... that's going to be Rankin passing another car currently ahead of these guys by about 2 and 3 seconds, respectively.
Exactly. Ooh, Caden Bin looking like he had a little bit of a run there going up through the Collier curve. Now into the tower turn they go as they work their way around. Bin really trying to put the screws to Dino Filippa. Dino doing a good job to try to hold him off here for the moment. The Argentinian working his way around. They go on to the Ullman Straight. Here is that draft, and here is that battle. Garfias and Cooper. These two just don't know when to quit.
Certainly they don't, DJ. Obviously been heel and toe, lockstep for the last couple laps. You can see now we have picture-in-picture of both these fantastic battles. One for the lead in the Pro-Am category, the other one for the last step of the podium. One car actually in the wall. I'm not sure. I believe that was Philippa getting a little bit loose there coming out of the Sunset corner. Of course, that's going to hand it over for the battle for the last step on the podium to Caden Bin.
Yeah, indeed. Philippa there just getting a little bit of understeer on the exit of the corner, not able to get the power down the way he wanted to, and that pushed him out wide. He is still able to maintain about 0.3 of a second behind Caden Bin, so that battle is going to continue on. Meanwhile, Cooper and Garfias, they continue to go at it. Cooper pushing to the point that he's running wide at the exit of Le Mans.
Yeah, DJ, he's just looking for all the track he can right now, trying to make this pass happen. Certainly, it could be said that he's been trying this entire time, just now to make it work, looking to the inside as they head down into Sunset. Obviously, Garfias is going to try to cover that off by getting his car right next to the inside wall, almost making contact there as they come out of Sunset. You can see the cars buffeting around as they go through that bumpy corner before they cross the start-finish line right now.
Yeah, and that's really where you pick up a little bit of that understeer, is the car bouncing and those front tires not able to actually make a contact patch with the road. So you've got to be very, very careful about when you apply the throttle, when you feel out the corner. It's almost like you're driving an oval there that you've got to kind of unsteer, is the way I like to say it, that you've got to unwind the steering wheel a little bit, turn into the corner in order to get maximum traction.
Yeah, certainly, DJ. It also really depends how you enter that corner. Do you enter it shallow, come off wide? Do you enter wide, come off shallow? Do you try and just diamond the corner, which means go in very shallow, go wide in the middle, then go very shallow as you exit the corner? Certainly a lot of differing strategies between these drivers. You can see how they play out only when they battle one another. It's usually, though, it's kind of, you want to enter the corner a little wide and then cut it back, try and get a huge run down the front straightaway and make a huge opportunity to pass into turn one. Probably the third best place to pass on this racetrack, second being Sunset, and of course the hairpin in the second half of the track.
Yeah, as there we watch Cooper. I'm starting to wonder if he's taken a little bit too much life out of his tires here, as he's dropped back to about 0.6 of a second behind Garfias for the lead in that Pro-Am category. Looks like he's just losing a little bit of life. The flip of that obviously could be that he is just trying to save here for the moment and see if he can hold on and maybe make a push here in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, certainly, DJ. Obviously, you can get the tires hot for a couple laps, but obviously once you get them hot, you need to kind of slow yourself down, back your pace up, cool those tires back down, try to make another run at that guy before you try to pass him again. Looks like he was making a couple opportunities to try and make something happen there. Not, of course, able to make it work. So obviously he's just going to try and recoup himself, let those tires cool back down before he tries to make another run at the lead in the Pro-Am category.
Yeah, indeed. And there you can see, oh man, just how much those cars are bouncing through Sunset. It scares me every time I see them do it. Watching here, Dino Filippa, a little bit of the opposite end of the spectrum. I thought Dino was going to fall back a little bit more from Caden Bin, but Dino able to keep that gap very tight going down into the hairpin.
Yeah, you can see a couple different strategies between these drivers as they currently continue to fight between them. Obviously, two intense battles right now in the two different picture-in-pictures. You can see, obviously, in the AM category, Hunter currently with a 5-second lead over Kulaga, another 2 seconds back to Neubauer. So currently the podium in the AM category quite sorted as you look at it right now, but obviously the intervals between the last step on the podium in the AM category and then for the lead in the Pro-Am, very, very much hotly contested.
Yeah, very, very hotly contested as we focus that on the center of your screen right now. Looks like my prediction coming a little bit true there, as Cooper right up behind Josh Garfias again, trying to apply that pressure as much as humanly possible.
Yeah, that's right, DJ. It's one thing to catch a guy. Obviously, that's what Cooper has been able to do. It's another thing to pass him. Right now, he's just trying to occupy as much rent-free space in his head right now as he can to see if he can force Garfias into a mistake. Because, of course, if you can do that, it's obviously a whole heck of a lot easier to pass the driver ahead of you.
Exactly, but Josh Garfias able to withstand that pressure up to this point with only about 5.5 minutes to go. We'll have to see if he's able to continue to keep up that pressure. Cooper trying to run a little bit of a wider line there through Jean Desbiens, as now he runs an even wider line coming through Le Mans. We jump over to the battle for the final step of the podium, though, in the pro category. Dino Filippa trying to hold on to the back of Caden Bin and close down that gap.
Doing his best as he may try, though. Rankin obviously still well out ahead of these guys. Obviously, he's cut that lead back down, that's Janey, to about 2.2 seconds. Another 3 seconds back to this battle for the last step on the podium between Bin and Filippa. It was Filippa's for a couple seconds there, as we saw a few minutes ago, but obviously one tiny mistake from Filippa handed that position back over to Bin. Filippa, though, doing everything in his power to try and do that crossover right now, as we see. Almost gets there. He gets there, makes a little bit of contact, though. Bin able to cover that off.
Yeah, been able to cover it off well. I'm very impressed here at this point with Caden's ability to defend. Dino, a very aggressive driver, pushing himself around here. And Caden, wow, both drivers getting a little bit friendly with that outside gravel, almost losing it.
Yeah, it's incredibly hard to spin the car out there, especially when you get the rear tires out in the grass, and very easy to just swap ends in these machines.
Yeah, and there we actually heard Caden over the in-race radio saying that it felt like the tires are just falling apart right now. So very clearly dealing with some rear grip loss in that number 98 machine, but I think Dino is also suffering from the exact same problem.
Yeah, these guys obviously very tight pace-wise between the two of them as they head down into Sunset here. You can see a little bit of the differing strategies here. Entering wide, cutting back shallow, just right next to the apex of the wall there as they can complete the corner here on the front stretch. Obviously going to catch some lap traffic here. Sportsmanship move, though. He's going to pull the inside, let these guys by. Obviously, he doesn't want to affect one of them and not the other, so he'd rather just pull off to the side and not affect either of them. A great move by him. A lot of these guys in this entire league very friendly about that.
Indeed, and I was keeping an eye there on our leader, Elvis Rankin. I believe he crossed over the start-finish line with the timing to let 2 laps to go. So I believe that is where we are at right now in terms of this race, and that is especially important for Garfias and Caden Bin, as they've got to hold on now for just about a lap and a half more.
Yeah, obviously, if you're the driver in front, you want as little laps to go. If you're the driver behind, you'd rather have that extra one more lap to try and get something done. If not, you just want to have that opportunity to see if you can finally make that pass happen. But right now, Filippa and Cooper obviously hoping to get one more lap out of it. Cooper right now half a second back from Garfias. Filippa currently 3 seconds back. You can see both those cars still very much contesting both their spots in the M category. It's still going to be Hunter, Don Hunter that is, well out in front by the tune of about 5.5 seconds over both the Kalagas.
Yeah, not nearly as a dominant performance as we saw last time out in that sprint race. Obviously some contact leading to that massive 18-second gap in the amateur category, but still some good racing continuing to go along here. As looked like there for a second we may have had a little bit of something, but nothing ended up flashing. Continue to watch Dino Filippa here, just trying to keep that power on. Oh, John Cooper has looped it around and able to get it. No, excuse me.
No, that was Garfias.
That's Cooper. That was Garfias looping it, and that has allowed for Cooper to finally get by.
Yeah, you can see obviously not a whole lot of pressure on him, but you can see obviously kind of eked out that lead as they went down in the braking zone. That's Garfias making the last second mistake. It's going to knock him at least a couple places down the field. We're going to have to see where he comes out here. This is Jay Steffi, just barely avoiding a wreck ahead of him. Obviously, he was a driver we saw nose it into the wall down the back straightaway. Currently a great recovery drive for him as he tries to put all the power back into the car. You can see Cooper right now first. Garfias obviously able to recover back from that spin in the second place, so thankfully for him, only one position lost, but it is the most important. He's probably going to be kicking himself in the rear end for that one for a long time to come. Obviously, it sucks to lose a race, especially in the dying moments of it, but Cooper very thankful for that, I'm sure, as we can see Dino Filippa currently still trying to battle with Caden Bin here for the last spot on the podium in the pro category.
Yeah, and they got a little bit crossed up with traffic, and Joseph Smith, rather, just through no fault of his own, just being in a bad place at a bad time. Oh, that was a big loose there from Dino Filippa. Oh, my goodness. Those rear tires absolutely gone on that red 99 machine, and he is going to be very thankful for the fact that this is the last lap that our leader, Elvis Rankin, has taken the white flag. So Dino Filippo just trying to close in on that gap. That's John Bodiford there that had a big off coming out of the hairpin.
Yeah, it looks like he just locked up the rear tires as he was trying to slow down the car for the hairpin. Just went a little bit wide, obviously just had to rejoin the track there at the end of the race. But right now we're going to look at Elvis Rankin. What a fantastic drive from him all day in his Apex Racing Team #1 Porsche. He led almost from flag to flag, started in the 10th position. So what a fantastic job coming up through the field. Great drive by him. Obviously, he was the driver that was able to just take the most advantage, getting to the lead first and having all of his competition fighting behind him. Michael Janey obviously able to pull that gap down for about 2.5 seconds where it was, and they came out of the pits now 2.2 seconds. Obviously, that's just how the traffic plays out. And of course, I'm sure Elvis has kind of figured this entire last stint here kind of doesn't need to do anything too crazy. You can see flash of the lights, going to wiggle the car back and forth as he heads down the front straightaway to take the checkered flag here at Sebring.
Takes the checkered flag and a commanding win behind him. Michael Janney will be able to come home in second, and Caden Ben, through some good fuel strategy and some good defense, able to take home that third place. We look here at John Cooper, who through relentless pressure was able to get past Garfius, and that means that with a couple of corners left to go, he will be able to hold on to that P1 position, hopefully.
Yeah, you can see the gap between the two drivers there right now, about 2.8 seconds from Cooper to Garfius. These are the two drivers, if you remember at home, the guys who were currently just lock and step for the most part of this race, just bumper-to-bumper action, just stalking his prey was Cooper. You kind of mentioned him being like a lion DJ, just stalking his prey in the tall grass. Currently going to bring his car through the Sunset Corner, up onto the front stretch to take the victory in the Pro-Am category here at Sebring. 2.6 seconds ahead of Garfius. What a fantastic job by him here today.
Yeah, fantastic run there for Cooper. And now we jump back to Don Hunter. Don, who is currently leading in that AM class as he wakes his way through Jean Debian and into Le Mans. Able to come around here, a very, very controlled drive ahead of the brothers Kulaga there to come home in P1. Just one more corner to go for Don Hunter.
You can see he's got about 5.5 seconds to each of those drivers, separated by about 5 seconds between them. Still, currently, there's a battle for the last step on the podium by about 0.8 of a second. We don't expect that to change too much, but Don Hunter, like you said, DJ, going to come through Sunset Corner down the front stretch. No flashing of lights. He is going to bring the car all the way next to the pit road wall here, taking the victory at Sebring.
A great drive there for Hunter and for the rest of the field as we just wait for the last couple of drivers to finish up here. Hoi, oi, oi. I can't believe that was a full 45 minutes, Austin. It went by that quickly. There was that much action on track.
Yeah, honestly, that felt more like the 15-minute sprint race before when you consider all the racing we had to look at. Obviously, these races always go by in a hurry. We'll look to get some of these drivers into the interview booth here once we go through the finishing order for all three of these classes as we look through a couple more of these replays, DJ.
Yeah, you can see there them just working their way around a little bit more, coming around the corners. A great, great drive from everybody, and just as little light out there as there is.
Yeah, certainly darkness right now. We're going to go ahead and throw it to adverts for a couple seconds. We'll be right back after these messages. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you back to the virtual Sebring International Raceway. Going to go ahead and give a couple drivers some interviews here. We see John D. Cooper has just gotten in the booth. Hey, John, you got a copy?
I got a solid copy.
Hey, great job here, man. They say patience is a virtue. Obviously, very patient, just trying to hunt down Garfius for that entire race there. DJ kind of, likened you to a lion just waiting in the tall grass, ready to pounce on your prey at any second. What did it take to stay on the rear bumper of Garfius that entire time?
A little sweat. I'll give you that. A little sweat, and like you said, some patience. We got to battle a good bit in the quali race, which was a lot of fun as well. So got to take a look at his strategy a little bit, and it did pay off.
Fantastic job there. Obviously, you were able to get into his head there a little bit. What was, was there sort of a moment of euphoria in your head as you finally realized, like, hey, I finally got a chance to really win this thing outright by the tune of about 3 seconds, very much clear of him in the last part of the race there?
Yeah, it was around pits. It was around the pits, a little before and then a little after. I made a few mistakes there, but was able to keep with them. But coming out of the pits, I really just kind of told myself, let's go. So it worked out.
For certain, is there anyone you want to thank for your great run here tonight?
Big thank you to Turnburn Moto's newest member, Bruno Alcaraz. He's a great guy and doing great work as well on the track.
Well, fantastic job here tonight. Once again, congratulations on your victory. That was John D. Cooper, ladies and gentlemen. DJ, it looks like that's all the people that want to be interviewed here tonight, so I'll hand it off to you for your final thoughts before we end the show.
Well, Austin, I got to tell you, you come to Sebring, you expect some great racing, and that's exactly what we got tonight. Some fantastic battles up and down the field, and I am just so happy to be a part of this series.
Yeah, it's fantastic racing week in and week out. Once again, before we leave, we just want to thank tonight's sponsors, the Race Anywhere Porsche Cup Series, Sim Racing, 3D, and Go for the Gap. They're fantastic partners for us. Ladies and gentlemen, we wish you a fantastic evening, and thank you for watching.